Have you heard about the FIRE community? If you're in the debt-free community or into personal finance, it's almost impossible not to. Let's take a look at exactly what the FIRE community is all about. What's up, guys? Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Brad. I make videos with tips and motivation on how to get out of debt, how to stay positive, and reach financial independence. Not a day goes by in this community, in the DMs, on live posts, that people don't come up to me and say, "Hey, Brad, you're a huge Dave Ramsey guy. What are your opinions on the FIRE community?" And frankly, in the last 2 years of paying off debt and using Dave Ramsey's baby steps, I never really formed an opinion. I didn't do my research, mostly because I was happy with my progress. I've paid over $150,000 worth of debt in the last 2 years, and that was good enough for me. But now, as I approach being debt-free, and that part of the baby steps is going to be over, I found myself in this area of vagueness, this area of incompleteness, which stemmed my mind for a plan B. After reading a couple books, listening to a couple podcasts, I found out that we have a lot more in common with the FIRE community than I ever thought. And I was shocked by these similarities. And I was also shocked by the things that the FIRE community was teaching us. They filled holes that I felt like the Dave Ramsey plan had that I wasn't too sure about saying, but I had heard other people talking about. And it really sparked my interest to look even further into the FIRE community. So if you're a member of the Dave Ramsey community and you follow the baby steps and you're in the debt-free community, you know I'm strong for Dave Ramsey, but hear me out. I want to give you a little feedback. And for those of you that don't know who Dave Ramsey is, that's okay. And you're here to find out what FIRE is, I'm going to tell you. FIRE really has two parts, the FI and the RE. And the first part is really the cornerstone, the FI, which stands for financial independence. Now, the beauty with the FIRE community is that financial independence is definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach. It can be unique to you and your specific situation. And this is one of the problems I had with Dave Ramsey's baby steps. He is speaking to the masses, and I understand that. He is very, very general. And for getting out of debt, there is really no plan that's better, and the FIRE community will agree with that. But now, I had the option to cater a plan just for me and reach financial independence the way I saw fit and what was best for me and my family. This hole that I was looking for in the baby steps of being able to cater things to different situations, like I couldn't find something that was for a 37-year-old guy that was married, that had a house on Long Island, that was a teacher. So many variables for personal finance and personal wealth. And when I heard Dave say 15% of your income into mutual funds, save for college, build wealth, I really felt like I wasn't getting the full picture. Once people in the FIRE community reach FI, they move on to RE, and that is retire early. And I understand the skepticism with this because I was there. When I thought about retirement and retire early, I thought to myself, wow, these guys want to sit on a beach and sip cocktails and be a burden to society and not work, and they want to grow old and wait for heaven to come. It turns out that most of the people in the FIRE community are far from lazy, and retirement means something completely different to them than being old and gray. They're one of the hardest workers I've actually seen in the personal finance space, and this made me excited because I knew that retirement didn't need to mean just getting old. For them, retirement meant that you did not have to do the daily 9-to-5 grind. It meant that you had the opportunity to choose whether you went to work or not, whether you loved your job or not. And if you wanted to continue to do that, or if you wanted to take time back, these early times in our life, these best times when our kids are young, when we're energetic, when we want to travel, this is really what retirement means to them. Retirement means avoiding the rat race, getting out early, but setting yourself up properly so when you do so, money is not something you need to worry about. They see retirement as a work when you want to work and do what you want to do. They want to wake up in the morning and drink a cup of coffee real slow. They want to make sure they get their kids to the bus stop and off the bus stop every single day. They want to help a friend in need that might need help around the house. They want to work on their own do-it-your-own projects that are going to make their life and their home feel more fulfilled. And this fulfillment is something that I definitely seek in personal finance. So when we look at these two parts, the FI and the RE, FI brings you financial stability, where the RE is an opportunity to grab time and enjoy time now and see that time is way more valuable than money can ever be. Now, how long it gets you to reach financial independence or to retire early is once again your choice. And that's the beauty. There's no pressure. It's all about how fast you want to do it, how hard you want to work. You can get it done in a couple years. You can get it done in 10, 15 years. It's really up to you. I didn't feel like there's a competition on how fast we could do things and how fast we can get out of debt and how fast can we become a millionaire. Because to them, $1 million is just a number. There's many people that reach FIRE far below $1 million because it's all about one thing to them and getting to the point where they have enough money to be able to live without having to go through the 9 to 5 grind. By the time I'd done a little research about FIRE, I was completely upset with myself by my initial intentions. One, because I tend not to be somebody that judges a book by its cover, but I always felt, I don't know whether it was the people I was around or whatnot, that we were at odds with the FIRE community and that Dave Ramsey was versus Mr. Money Mustache and all these other people that were promoting the FIRE community. It turns out that's not the case. Of course, there's bad apples, but there's some bad apples in the debt-free community too, you know that. But I realized that they were just as willing and helpful and wanted to be there for me and for you and for anybody else that had questions. They were all about optimizing life and making your life better. They just approach things differently than Dave Ramsey. I think if there's one major similarity, and it's the thing that you really need to think of before you ever start to think about FIRE, is debt. You need to get out of debt, whether you're in Dave Ramsey's camp or whether you're in the FIRE camp. And they will both stay on both sides of the fence, myself included. Until you get out of debt, there is nothing else to think about. Debt is holding you back so much. It's your hair on fire. It's an emergency. It's let's get this thing out. It's gazelle intense, just like Dave says. If you're thinking about the FIRE community and you still have debt, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. And I've been tending to do the same thing. People know that I'm excited about becoming a part of the FIRE community after I get out of debt. Every single day I need to remind myself, one mission objective still. Get out of debt. That's what I want to do, and that's what I think about every single day. This is just research for me, and this is just opening my mind to something that if I could take the FIRE community and I could take my background with the knowledge that Dave Ramsey taught me and put them together, I'm setting my family up for something that could be amazing. And Dave Ramsey's baby step 2 is get out of debt, and it's baby step 3 that I really had a problem with. And I think that's where the separation really begins. Now, as I think of it, here's how I'm going to compare the two. Let's think about college and college degrees. The way I see it, Dave Ramsey's baby steps is like kind of like an undergraduate degree, where the FIRE community and the beliefs of the FIRE community tend to be more graduate level studies. Now, just like school, you can't jump to the graduate studies before the undergraduate degree. You need to get through your graduate work, you need to get a little framework, a little control, and a little maturity, then you're ready to go get your master's degree. The FIRE community just gave me the opportunity to simplify the things I really wanted to know. And here's a great example. Dave Ramsey says in baby step 3, save 6 months of an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of emergency fund, the FIRE community would agree, but the FIRE community took it one step further for me. They told me where to keep that money. They told me about high interest bank accounts. They taught me about how my Chase 0.01% account meant nothing and that banks like Ally and Capital One and others were offering 2% on their money and their savings. So they both agreed that you should have a little bit of a buffer so that you don't have to go into debt during an emergency. But once again, this vague, general, to the masses approach of save 3 to 6 months living expenses, I never got the why. And I'm a big why guy. If you tell me something, I want you to back it up. And I understood what Dave was saying, like, yeah, you need to make sure that you have some money in case of an emergency. But do I keep 3 to 6 months in my Chase account with 0.01%? And that's where the FIRE said, hey, Brad, come here. I'll tell you where you're going to put it. Here's your options. You choose what works best for you. Dave Ramsey in baby step 4 says, save 15% of your income in mutual funds. But if you want to research more about that, the only thing he tells you is go check out one of his endorsed local providers. I don't know who those people are. The FIRE community tells you about low cost index funds. They tell you about mutual funds. They tell you about retirement. They also say, why stop at 15%? Let's save as much as we can and live below our means. They think about maximizing savings as opposed to minimizing spending. Next, Dave tells me I should be saving for college. But he didn't tell me about the dangers and limitations of a 529 plan. I would have just went into it. Now, granted, some people in the FIRE community use 529s. But they at least told me the risks. They told me the pros. They told me the cons. And then they let me make the decision on my own. Dave tells you pay off your house early, but he doesn't exactly tell you why. He just says because it's debt. Well, I'm learning now that maybe it's not as cut and dry as just being a debt. Maybe there might be some positivity. I don't know. That's a long way for me. but it still filled a hole of knowledge in my soul. It told me that, hey, there's more, there's answers, there is a why. I keep searching for that why in the baby steps, and I'm just not getting it. And then I feel like Dave just leaves you high and dry and just says, build wealth. I have no idea what wealth means. I still don't. I don't know the difference between wealthy and rich. I thought being a millionaire made you wealthy or made you rich, and I thought a millionaire was the status that you needed to achieve after 2 years of following the baby steps. And I found out that it's all about your savings rate. It's all about how much you live off of. And you could retire for less than $1 million. And you could retire for a lot more than $1 million, but it depends on you and your living strategy. It depends on what your cost of living is. It depends on how much your property taxes are if you live in a high property tax kind of area. It depends on how many Starbucks coffees you want to drink every single day. It depends on what you want to buy. It gives you a framework to understand that it's not about not being able to buy things, but showing you that the things you buy better be worth it. And to think when you buy something, you're not buying an item, you're buying things. And when I retire, I want more money than I want things. So the way I see it, there's a really, really simple path to FIRE. First and foremost, are you debt free? Next, do you have that 3 to 6 months living expenses? If you don't, open a high interest savings account with an online bank. You could do your own research and start to save 3 to 6 months after you get out of debt. Super important. And that 3 to 6 months is really going to depend on how secure your income is and how comfortable you feel with a certain amount of money in savings. It's as simple as that. So first, get out of debt, just like Dave says. Next, 3 to 6 months, just like Dave says. But add in the FIRE piece. Put it somewhere where it's going to make you a little bit of money and not just sit there and lose money to inflation. Next, are your pre-tax accounts for retirement maxed out? And I never ever understood this. And I just did a video about how I hate 403Bs and such. And then I got so much amazing feedback, which is why I make these videos. If you can keep your fees low, the possibilities for awesomeness as far as finances are concerned are right there at your fingertip. I found out that between my 403B, my 457, my HSA, and my FSA, I could save almost $72,000 worth of income. Writing that off lowers my tax bracket almost 10%. So that's probably going to be the first thing I do. And the FIRE community teaches us through the Roth conversion ladder that if we do retire early, there is a way to get our funds out of those pre-tax retirement accounts without paying a penalty. That's something Dave really never talks about. Next, do you have your Roth IRA or traditional IRA maxed out after your pre-tax accounts? And this doesn't have to be confusing. The FIRE community makes it super, super simple. They don't tell you have to put a little piece in international and a little piece in this technology and diversify your market and use an ELP. They make it very simple. Find a low-cost index fund that tracks the market. They highly recommend Vanguard. They highly recommend VTSAX, and that's it. That can go in your retirement accounts. That can go in your Roth accounts. That can go in your broke accounts. It's set it and forget it, because over time, the market beats all these actively managed funds over a 10-year period. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, right? They're thinking about long-term, and so should we. So after you max out your pre-tax accounts, get working on those Roth IRAs and those traditional IRAs next. Once you got all that set, it's time to work on the Trinity study and the 4% rule. You're going to take your yearly expenses and you're going to multiply them by 25. That is going to be the number that you need to reach. Once you reach 25 times your yearly expenses invested, congratulations. You are now financially independent and get to ask yourself an amazing question. Do you love your job? If the answer is yes, then keep working. Stay at your job. Keep maxing everything out. Keep building that nest egg. For the day, you answer that question with a no. I don't like my job. Because now you have FU money. The ability to walk into that job and say, I don't need this anymore. I'm financially independent. I'm going to take myself and I'm going to go do something that I love with my time. And once you answer no to that question, it is time for the RE. Retire early. Now they recommend before you do that, save up to 1 year in cash in that high interest savings account just in case the market tends to dip, because inevitably it's going to do so. So save up a little bit of cash. Next, begin your Roth IRA conversion ladder. And if you're at that point, you can do your own research on that. There are many articles. I'll try and link one down below, but the Roth conversion ladder is going to be your next step. Then all you have to do is pull out 4% of your capital gains and dividends to live off of. It's wonderful. You have reached FIRE. Financially independent, retire early, and life is wonderful. You now get to do the things you want to do when you want to do them. You could start a side hustle, start a business, enjoy time with your kids, enjoy time with your spouse, travel the world, and do all the things that you wanted to do because you worked really hard and you saved everything you could save for 7 to 10 years. This does not need to be a Dave Ramsey versus the FIRE community. And I used to think the same way too. And I'm not ashamed, but I needed to learn. I was ignorant to the situation. The FIRE community is not out to get Dave Ramsey and his followers, and the debt-free community is definitely not out to get the FIRE community. Let's get together. Let's join forces. Let's see what you guys have to offer. Let's see what us in the debt-free community have to offer, and let's all rise together because the rising tide raises all ships. Until I see you on the next one, stay positive, work really, really hard. Please be kind to others. I'll catch you on the next one. I hope you have an amazing day and an even better tomorrow.